I'm not a funny guy, and when I tried to be funny, I failed miserably. So picture this, you're gonna have a school presentation in front of a huge crowd. You've been practicing it for days, and you've done your research, but there's one single thing you realize is missing, a sense of humor. So naturally, you try adding some jokes to your script, you scrub your head, trying to figure out a perfect punchline at each story beat, and after a few hours, you've finally done it. You've finally made your script funny, and people are gonna burst out laughing throughout your whole presentation. Or so you thought. On the day of the presentation, you build up to the exact moment and deliver the punchline. Then you pause for a few seconds and look at the audience. But to your shock, there's not one single laugh, chuckle, or smile. In fact, the audience is not even feeling cringe. They look back at you as if they don't even know you have delivered a joke, which is the worst possible outcome. So the only thing you can do is to continue with your presentation to avoid further embarrassment. And that's me. I've tried to be funny in many occasions, not just in presentations, but in gatherings with my friends. But most of the time, the jokes just fell flat. Maybe it's because the jokes just aren't funny, or maybe it's because of how I deliver them. I don't know. I guess having a sense of humor is just not my natural talent. So I've had this insecurity that I'm not as funny as the other guys. The guys who can just crack a joke on the spot and instantly boost their likability. Sometimes I just want to tell myself, why can't you be like them? Just make some good jokes, bro. Stop being so boring. And this insecurity had stayed with me for a long time until I read about Aristotle's golden mean. Alright, let me explain. Aristotle's golden mean is his theory that human excellence lies in the middle way between two extreme states, excess and deficiency. Aristotle thinks there are two extremes in terms of humor. First, you got a buffoon, which is the funny guy, the guy who cracks jokes all the time and might use whatever it takes to make people laugh, including offending people. On the other hand, you've got the bore, the guy who can't crack a joke or take a joke. But there's a third type of person, the person who rarely tells jokes but appreciates the jokes the other people tell. I'm kind of leaning towards the third type. I might not be good at telling a joke, but I do know how to laugh at one most of the time. But that was when I realized I had been chasing the wrong role for all these years. Not every person has to be the guy who tells jokes and makes people laugh, because if everyone tries to do that, who's left to appreciate the jokes? Not to mention, being funny is never a perfect trait. Many people, including me, wanted to be humorous because we often associate funny people with likable ones, the ones who gives tons of fun to the crowd, and we always like making friends with them because it just seems easier to connect with them. But just as Aristotle mentioned, people who constantly crack jokes without reading the room can be considered annoying, and some people might also use their humor to hide their insecurities or traumas. Think about the people who tell jokes in every conversation. When they have to turn every single moment into a punchline they can deliver, I think their sense of humor won't feel like charisma anymore. Instead, it will start feeling like a shield or a sign of inauthenticity because they're hiding something behind the joke, and you don't really know who they actually are underneath their energetic performance, which actually makes it harder to connect with them on a deeper level. So when I think about this in this perspective, it really helped me in becoming less obsessed with being funny. Another thing that reduced my obsession is the realization that being funny is just one of the many human traits that we can have. I mean, think about the many people you've met in your life, the people you've respected, the people you've liked. Are they all funny? Of course not, because they excel at other traits. Maybe some of them are observant, some of them are patient, or some of them are resilient. But because we value being funny more than other traits, these traits are perceived as inferior to having a great sense of humor, which is just wrong. And the truth is, some people are just naturally funnier than others, and this is fine. So instead of obsessing over the traits others have, maybe it's time to value our own unique characteristics instead. So with this change in mindset, I kind of became more content with being myself as time went on, being a guy who other people might think of as unfunny or boring. But actually, you know what? By being unfunny, I've become funnier. Alright, I know this makes zero sense, but hear me out. So before, I tried forcing myself to take jokes I wouldn't normally make, which made me cringe and feel inauthentic. But soon I realized the easiest way to develop your own sense of humor is to be your natural self. Everyone on the planet has their own unique quirks, and I'm sure you have your own too. So if you're not embarrassed to demonstrate them, your special traits are gonna create some kind of inner contrast among the crowd. Because your natural personality is inherently different from others, the things you do or say might already be funny to others. So for example, I have a weird habit where I always put a sticker on the camera of my MacBook when I'm not using Zoom or Skype. I do this because I don't want to be exposed on camera in case some hackers hack my computer. And of course, not one single person I meet will have this habit, because the chance of being hacked is 1 in a million. So when they see me do this, they will naturally ask me why. And when I don't shy away from telling this reason, which includes me being a bit of a paranoid, they'll find it funny and laugh. Now you might think this is only because they're laughing at the fact that you are being weird or foolish. I don't think so. I believe most of the time they're just laughing at the unexpectedness. So when you stop trying to chase the generic standard of being funny and try to focus more on being your true self, you can also be funny in the most unexpected way. Thanks for watching. This is Mr. Machine.